What's up, everyone? Today we got an awesome episode. Unfortunately, we are missing one of our counterparts in Will Tien. He's out serving his other duties, but we got a loaded slate for you boys. So we're gonna kick it off with some of our reactions from Game 6 NBA playoffs between the Spurs and the Thunder. After that, we're going straight into which player left in these playoffs has the biggest legacy pressure. And then to end the night, we're talking who else but the GOAT LeBron James. Where we want to see him go, where we think he should go, where he best fits, and most importantly, where can he go to win the championship one more time? So to kick it off, I'll give it to you, Garrett. What are your reactions from last night?
Yeah, I mean, my initial reactions are just the intensity that the Spurs came out with and the way that they were able to play. That's now the third, all three home games that have been played in San Antonio, the Spurs have had at least a 15 to nothing run or greater. And last night it came in that third quarter where, I mean, the fourth quarter wasn't even worth watching because the game was over after three quarters. The Spurs you finally saw that aggressiveness from Wembanyama that everybody was talking about after game five when it felt like he was kind of shying away. But yesterday he came out, shot nine three-pointers, scored 28 points, 10 of 21 from the field. But the biggest storyline to me had to be the aggressiveness of Dylan Harper off the bench, scoring 18 points, getting to the free throw line a couple times, but really just his ability to attack and transition gives the Spurs team kind of another dimension because the way De'Aaron Fox has been playing, I don't necessarily know if he's at full health. We know about the ankle sprain that he has, but I'm just laughing at Cole's background right now with the four nuns. Um,
Come
but
on.
Dylan Harper, the way that he's attacked and been so aggressive has made this Spurs team just much more dynamic. And I think also Wembanyama just committing to roll on the pick and roll. It's been so hard because Isaiah Hartenstein's just clutching him and grabbing him on pretty much every play. But when he rolls and gets downhill, it just opens up so much more. And he's kind of maybe one of the only players, maybe the only player in the NBA where every time he rolls to the basket, you can pretty much justify throwing the ball, even if he's not open.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I don't know if you guys can see my background. Obviously, everyone listening from YouTube and watching can see it, but the four nuns, come on, baby. The way that they've showed up and they've kind of like enervated this Thunder team has been unreal. They've sucked out all the offense from them, which has been unreal to watch. And I mean, if you're an NBA fan, you're probably loving it because really no one loves the Thunder. But I 100% agree with you. I mean, the big tell last night was SGA, just terrible. He hit around, I think it was 15, shooting 33% from the field. And shockingly, he only had three free throws. So I don't know if we're starting to see a pattern where SGA failing to get to the free throw line leads to maybe a lack of their team success. And then one other big standout for me was Jalen Williams. He came back to play. However, he was not himself. 10 minutes played. He only had 1 point scored. And the biggest thing of all, not just the 1 point, but he only attempted one field goal, which for me, I mean, that just shows you he's not okay. He's not fully healthy. He's not even close to fully healthy. Because if you have a score and an athletic player like him, and he's going out and he's finding a way to get himself one shot in 48 minutes, maybe a little bit less because he didn't really play the fourth because they were down by like 30, but still one shot in three quarters. That's a tell. That's a tell that he's not healthy. So it's going to be interesting to see if he even suits up for Game 7 or if he stays out of that one. But we'll have to see. I'm interested to see what you think, Garrett, if he's going to suit up or not.
Yeah, I don't think Jalen Williams we're going to see on Saturday night. It was pretty obvious tell that he was not at 100%. I think it kind of just the urgency of where the series was going. I'm kind of surprised, honestly, that he tried to play yesterday. I figured it would just be easier to pack it in for one more game and see if they can win without him. And then game seven gives him a couple more days of rest. Maybe he's able to go a little bit longer, but if you watch the broadcast, they showed him doing like stretches in the tunnel at halftime and like constantly trying to stay loose. And you could just tell that when he was on the court, he was not trusting that left hamstring at all. It was kind of like watching him try to jump every time off the same leg. And even on that shot he got fouled on, it looked a little bit awkward. And well, we're not used to it. He knew that they needed his offense, and so I think that's why he tried to create a couple different times. But I mean, there's a reason he only played 10 minutes because he was very limited. And I don't think this is going to change in a couple days. I think he's going to be out for game seven. And if they do win, I don't think it's uh, out of the picture where he doesn't suit up at all in the NBA Finals because it's the hamstring's a tough injury, especially when you re-aggravate it. You really just need it to give it time to rest. And that's certainly what he hasn't been doing by trying to come back earlier in the series and then again this time. But overall, I feel like this game was almost more about just the Thunder's lack of performance and just, I mean, it starts off with the MVP, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, just 15 points, 6 of 18 from the field. You mentioned he got to the line 17 times in game five, and he only got there three times. Was part of this the NBA trying to adjust a little bit? Yes. I mean, I don't want to call out the refs, but I think this series has sort of been heading to a seven-game climax the way it's been officiated a little bit. We saw in game four when the Spurs won, it felt like they got the friendlier whistle. Game five was obviously the better whistle for the Thunder. And then game six, Shea struggled to get to the line. And part of it is Stephon Castle is a really physical defender. So he's naturally going to foul a good amount. So sometimes the refs can call more fouls and sometimes they choose not to. And it's not totally outrageous. But I mean, you looked at every talk show you listened in, you turn on your TV, and everyone's talking about SGA and the Thunder flopping after game five. And it's something that they're obviously taught to do. Mark Dagnall and that coaching staff know if you flop, you're going to get the calls, so why not do it? So they have made that a point of emphasis to teach their guys how to flop, how to do it properly. And the only way it's going to get fixed is if the league addresses it, if they start calling it a technical foul, if they give it an offensive foul. We've seen it in soccer where there's been a flopping epidemic, but the refs have started to just not call as much, and they've rewarded the team who's not flopping more than the team that is flopping. And I don't know if you saw the Pat McAfee show yesterday, but Adam Silver came on to talk about it. And the two biggest issues in the NBA have been the tanking and they've been the flopping. And we can talk about the new draft lottery if you want to, which I think is just absolutely nuts. I don't understand it or agree with it whatsoever. But the other issue is the flopping, and it's not going to get any better unless you start calling it not only no calls, but calling it against the offense, giving them technical fouls or an offensive foul, because that's how you're going to address it. But now in the regular season, four games against the Spurs, so not counting the NBA Cup game, SGA was shooting the fifth worst he shot against any team in the regular season. He shot against four teams in the regular season. He shot under 50%, and the next lowest was against the Spurs. Now you look in this series, he's 44 for 116, which is under 38%. And he's averaging just 24.3 points, which is well below his average of over 31 a game. So the Spurs have effectively figured out how to guard him much better than any other team in the league, at least in the postseason, especially. And they're not even having to send double teams anymore because they're switching out high on him, and Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle and whoever's on him are really digging in and guarding him well. And they're just building a wall to the point where it feels like he can't get to the basket and he's having to settle for these, step back mid-range shots, which are tough when you're being guarded by length.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of you. I mean, 100% agree. Shea is an efficient player. We've seen that throughout his career. He shoots his field goal percentage around 56% for his career. And hearing those numbers, it's pretty honestly astounding. I mean, the defense they've played, and I was gonna give it to you. I was gonna say, hey, are you seeing many doubles? Because last night, I'm gonna be honest, I just saw straight up one-on-one defense. I saw when he would come in, yeah, then maybe they would collapse on him, kind of force either a tough fadeaway at the end of the shot clock, or maybe try to kick it out. But it's not easy to kick it out. We saw, or at least I saw, so many times where Thunder would drive and try to kick it, but the length and the athleticism of the Spurs was able to just collapse in, steal the ball, and then they're off on a fast break. And with this team, you do not want to let them get off a fast break. They have so many like freak athletes. So it's been fun to watch, honestly. And then for the flopping aspect, that's a serious problem. I come from a hockey background. NBA, it's my favorite sport to watch, no doubt. But I come after and I'm watching an NHL game, a playoff game, and it just looks like those guys want it so much more than the NBA guys. And then not to mention the flopping, where I actually watched an embellishment call get called in these NHL playoffs. And the dude straight up got hit from behind. He wasn't the strongest on his feet. I think it's more because he just wasn't expecting it and he fell because he got hit from behind. They didn't call the hit from behind, they called the embellishment. Whereas in the NBA, it is the complete opposite. So I'm not really sure because they did implement it into the rules. However, it looked like they really only called it for maybe a 2 to 3 week span, and it was awesome. It looked like, hey, the NBA really fixed this. This was what, 2 or 3 years ago? It looked great. And then continue the timeline, and it was kind of like, well, we're right back to the flopping. So that is something that the league definitely has to figure out because it's definitely losing them a lot of viewers. Because I love the game more than anyone, but when you're watching people in the biggest games and it's not coming down to who's the better team. It's coming down to just who can sell calls more. It's like, what happened in this game? You can watch old highlights of like, I just came off watching Kobe versus Melo, and it was like, it was a beautiful thing to watch. They're low posts in the paint, just grabbing each other, fighting for the positioning. No fouls, just a fun game to watch. And it's kind of been ruined a little bit. And I was saying last night, I don't think it's in every series. I really don't. You watched the Timberwolves Nuggets series, that was a physical series. The refs were letting them play. So it's a serious thing. It's really not a full NBA thing. So it just comes down to who's refing the games. And I think for this series, honestly, we just gone a rough set of officials. Obviously, they're all great. You don't get the ref in these games unless you have like a decorated career. But at some point, we do have to fix this because we don't want we want the best team winning. We don't want the best flopping team winning. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how Game 7 is called. Because, like you said, I think it's kind of been flopping back and forth. Not that the league wants it necessarily to go 7, but you could see maybe it was a little hinted at that. I mean, second quarter came around last night, and I was like, yeah, this is going 7. So it'll be interesting to
I
watch.
think it also has to do with, the players left, not necessarily just the officials. I mean, look at the four teams left, and it included James Harden, Jalen Brunson, and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, three of the known floppers in the NBA. So the refs can't do anything about that. But I do think that, they do need to find a way to just combat the flopping. And I mean, if the Thunder do win, it's going to be SGA and Brunson having a flop off in the NBA Finals for as well as the Knicks have played and all the love everyone's giving them. That is a big part of Brunson's game. That is sort of what makes the Knicks and Brunson a tough watch for me at times is all the flopping. But something else I wanted to talk about with the Thunder is Chet Holmgren. We saw he had 10 points and 11 rebounds last night, 4 of 8 from the field. His three-pointer just volume has gone way down, especially in this series. It's taking him a while to get it off, and he hasn't really been able to squeeze many off. I know you just signed him to a long-term extension, and it just made me think with Jalen Williams and AJ Mitchell out and the Thunder needing somebody else to score the ball, they kind of haven't been able to look in Chet's direction. And he's on a long-term contract now. He's going to be with the Thunder for a while, and I'm not suggesting they need to move off of him or trade him or anything. But when you look at the future of the Western Conference, it feels like it's going to be these two teams, the Thunder and the Spurs. We could see possibly a Cavs Warriors type run where they play 3 or 4 playoffs in a row. And Chet is kind of ineffective when Wembanyama's on the other side. If these teams are going to keep facing off, he needs to figure out a way to be more effective, whether that's stepping out to the three-point line and knocking down the outside shot or getting more physical inside. But there was times yesterday and in Game 5 where Julian Champagnie was just driving to the rim and finishing over Chet. And I know it's not necessarily fair to him because he is Wemby, just a much smaller version. So when Wemby comes along, it kind of ruins a lot of his game. But if we're going to keep seeing this matchup, you can't just keep rolling Chet out there and getting this production from him because it's no secret that Wembanyama has completely dominated him.
Yeah. Two things about Chet. You kind of hit on both of them. First of all, no one's saying he's not a good defender. He was first team all defense this year. So the guy knows how to defend. But sneakily enough, I do kind of see some of these bigger guards of San Antonio going at him at the rim. Whereas instead of meeting him at the apex where it's easiest for him to block, you can see kind of Keldon Johnson, maybe even Devin Vassell and Stephon Castle, not big in terms of height, but big in terms of kind of just girth and working out. You see them going in and hitting him, making body contact, and then kind of pushing him back. And then the refs don't call it because they're really not. They don't even have to extend the arm on him. If they just lower the shoulder a little bit, his weight room problem is so prevalent and paramount that like he kind of just gets knocked off. And then they have an open layup or a dunk. And it's weird to see an all defensive team guy get targeted in that way by these smaller guys. And then two, He is a good outside shooter. However, from what I've seen, is his lack of ability to get it off quick. You watch his shot form, he gets really low and he goes all his full length until he gets it off. Whereas some of these other guys quick shoot, and some of these guys can shoot with no dip, which to me is incredible. It's my favorite shot in the game when they just catch it, no dip shoot. Chet, he loads up. And when Wemby's on you, if he's in the paint and you're in the corner shooting, by the time Chet starts to go down to make his shot form, and Wemby sees that, he has enough time with his length to get out there. And I think Chet kind of knows that. So he's like not even attempting a lot of them. Like it's not necessarily that he's shooting at a terrible clip, although maybe it's fallen a little bit. It's more that he's just not even getting them off. Whereas he's used to getting it off because one, he doesn't have Wemby, so that obviously makes a big difference. And then two, the Thunder are so good at driving kicks usually, where they usually have one guy open at all times. Whereas last night, especially in the third quarter, when they went on that like 8 minute streak with 0 points, you could see, I want to say it was just bad shooting from the Thunder, but I'd be lying. The Spurs were putting them in quagmires. They were like they just couldn't get anything off, and it was really obvious. Half their shots were either getting blocks or steals going the other way, which is what created the run. So Chet obviously is a great shooter. I mean, not saying to change his form, but he's got to speed it up a little bit if he's trying to get it off against Wemby, because I mean everyone does.
Yeah, I do feel like his form almost looks a little clunkier than it was when he was at Gonzaga in college. It does feel like it's taking him a little longer to get it off now. I think what it's proving, to be straight up, is that he cannot be a second option in the postseason, maybe not even a third option right in this series. I mean, you look at the Thunder when, Jalen Williams and AJ Mitchell are out. I mean, guys are trying to do stuff that they're not really used to. Shout out Alex Caruso. I think he's been maybe the Thunder's best player in this series. Shea's had the volume, but Caruso's realized that they need scoring. He's trying to provide that. But when they're on that 8 minute, scoreless stretch, you look at Cason Wallace was trying to make play after play. He's a great NBA player. He's not quite a playmaker yet at this level. Chet was looking at the rim, and then he would just see a 7'5" Wembanyama, and even if he gets a step on him, you're getting blocked from behind. As much as Wembanyama struggles with lower body strength, Chet might be worse, so he's not
Yes.
able to move him. And so it just ended up with Jared McCain and SGA just taking these like bad contested shots because the Thunder look a little off without another playmaker out there. Jalen Williams, not J-Dub, but the other taller Jalen Williams, he's not going to create for himself. Lou Dort is kind of limited to catch and shoot threes. He can't really create either. And so when they're missing that second guy to create shots and their role players aren't knocking down threes, getting the driving kicks like you mentioned. I do think that's why the Thunder have the edge at home is I think the role players do play better there and I think the crowd really helps them stay into it. But it was interesting because it was like the almighty Thunder all of a sudden they go on this run without scoring and they look a little lost. Usually watching the Thunder, it feels like they have a clear identity. Shea's their guy. When
Yep.
they need a bucket, they go to him and it's drive and kick basketball. And we mentioned the flopping. It's not the prettiest thing ever, but they don't play this just ugly style brand of basketball. It does look good and their defense is getting them out. They love playing in transition. The Spurs kind of flipped that on their head yesterday where the Spurs were getting stops. They were turning them over, getting out and running in transition and winning the transition battle. And then the Thunder looked like they lacked a little bit of an identity. And when your star player, your MVP, isn't scoring, is having trouble in the isolation, that's really going to cost you. And it did as the Thunder failed to reach, 100 points. They had 82 in game four and now just 91 in game six. So when the Spurs play the defense that we think and we know now that they're capable of playing, the Thunder without those two guys really have struggled.
Yeah, 100%. I think we're both on the same terms here. So before we wrap it up and move on to players with the most pressure left in these playoffs, I want to hear your prediction. I know we both said Thunder going into the series. I believe I had them in seven. I believe you had them in six. I'm not 100% sure, but we both did have Thunder. Have these last couple games kind of swayed your opinion, or I'd love to hear who you think is coming out on top?
Yeah, I had Thunder in six before. Going into last night, I was decently confident that they were going to be able to pull it off, but with the way things went, the star players not really playing in the fourth quarter, I think it's honestly probably going to benefit the Spurs more because when Wemby has looked at full energy, the Spurs have won those games. And when he's looked a little tired and groggy, they have lost those games. I do, however, think the home crowd is going to get the role players of the Thunder going enough. The Spurs shot the ball at a clip I don't think they're going to shoot it at again. I think the Thunder are going to make more shots. Their last two road losses in games 4 and 6, their 3-point percentage was like under 25%. And even last night, I thought they missed some shots. Like the tall Jalen Williams missed like three just wide
Yep,
open threes.
100%.
They missed some bad looks or some good looks. I do think the Thunder are going to get it done. I think this game's going to be closer. We haven't really had a really good close game since game one. I think the Thunder are going to squeak this one out, but I wouldn't be surprised at this point if it goes either way. I think got to see what Wembanyama's energy level looks like early on, though.
Yep. I'm a prove it type of guy. Thunder have proved it to me, so I'm riding with them as much as I hate it until they prove otherwise to me. So I got Thunder as well. Okay, let's move on to our next topic. Garrett, I'll let you start this one off. It'll be interesting to hear your opinion. Who do we believe out of the Knicks, Spurs, and Thunder has the most legacy pressure?
Yeah, as weird as this sounds, I think it's got to be the back-to-back MVP in SGA
Wow.
because you hear him talking all the time about the Spurs. Every great player has to lose on the big stage before they make it, right? With Jordan and the Bulls, he struggled to get past, the bad boy Pistons. Whether it was, LeBron early on in his Cavs days, he was, struggling. I mean, part of that was because the Cavs roster just was not very good. But again, he didn't win it all his first time making it to the playoffs. And so I don't think Wembanyama is going to draw any shade. I don't think there's going to be any backlash to him if he takes the Thunder to 7 in his first postseason, third season in the league. You can't really put that on his legacy. This is the youngest conference finals team in the history of the NBA. So I don't really think this is pretty much I don't want to say a win-win, but he's playing with house money a little bit. Where is it if he loses, this isn't really a hit on his legacy. And if he wins the title, man, this is like a wow, he did it younger than anyone else in the GOAT talk has done it. And then for the Knicks, making it to the finals was kind of the next big step for me. Jalen Brunson can cement himself as possibly the greatest Knick of all time if they win the NBA Finals. As crazy as that sounds for this only being his fourth year there, it's probably going to take a couple more seasons. But when you win back-to-back MVPs and when you have such a loaded roster like we all think and know the Thunder have, the pressure is naturally going to go to you. And I think not having his, number two guy, the Robin to his Batman, and Jalen Williams, and now having to go through, Wembanyama, the next up and coming player, and the Knicks sitting in the finals. I think it puts the most pressure on SGA because with Wemby, it's not really expected yet, and with Jalen Brunson, this has been a magical run who's gotten to the postseason, but I don't think we think that Jalen Brunson maybe is quite on the same level as SGA, or at least the Knicks are on the same level as the Thunder. And so I think the legacy pressure then goes to SGA because if we think the Spurs are going to progress how we think they're going to progress and guys from the Thunder are going to start to move on to other places, this might be one of the last years where the Thunder have a chance to pick off the Spurs with this current duration. So I think the pressure has to be on SGA.
I love you, Garrett. What you just said was complete bonkers.
Really?
SGA is a 27-year-old man. As much as I don't like his play style, he's a two-time MVP, Finals MVP, obviously with that championship run as well. And he's missing two of his biggest guys. He's missing AJ Mitchell, then biggest. He's missing his Robin. Jalen Williams hasn't really played at all these playoffs, and when he has played, it's would have been better if he'd never played. So he's missing his number two guy. For me, I really don't think it's close. Maybe it's more because there's more of a positive than negative, but it's Jalen Brunson. As you said, I don't know if I'd put him as the best Nick of all time, even if he won this. Well, it would be kind of a Dirk type of run. I mean, there's guys like Willis Reed who have won two championships for the Knicks and two Finals MVPs. Not to mention he played his full entire career there, where Jalen Brunson's been there for what 4 years. But I'm also not the only one with an opinion in the world, and I do think a lot of people will say that he is the best Nick of all time if he does win. Not to mention if he doesn't win. This is going to be a really interesting offseason if the Knicks do not win because they're kind of going to have to face the question of do we have enough? Do we truly have enough? We know we have enough to get out of the East. Do we have enough to beat the West? And if Giannis is knocking on your door and you don't win a championship, this may be the last type of run that we get to see with this current Knicks team, how it's constructed. And I don't know about you. I love Jalen Brunson. I think his game is unbelievable. But the second Giannis steps in that door, now it comes to a question, who's even the best Nick on the team? Who's the 1A guy? Is it Brunson as the 1A or is it Giannis as the 1A and Brunson as the 1B? Sure, you could make the argument. And this is what I think it would be. I think Giannis is probably the best player on the team, but it's Brunson's team. Kind of like what we saw with the Curry and Kevin Durant. Obviously, maybe not to that level, but Curry and KD with the Warriors. It was Curry's team. KD was a better player, let's be honest. But if he doesn't win it, there may go his only chance in the finals of being the best 1A guy, which kind of cements him, not to me, but to a lot of people as the best Nick of all time. And I think if he does win this one, and then he plays, let's say, 4 more years at the Knicks, even if he doesn't make it back to a finals, but he gives you good seasons and he gives you a couple maybe second and third round postseason runs. I do think he'll be the greatest Knick of all time. So I just don't see how you can't say Jalen Brunson when he has the chance to become a great. Where it's like if he doesn't do this, he's not going to be mentioned as he's going to be one of the greats just because the Knicks. I mean, for as big of a market they've had, they've kind of had a poverty franchise in terms of winning. I mean, they have two championships. They haven't won since what, 73, I think. Haven't even made it to the final since 99. So, for as big of a market team as they are, they've really had a tough run. So, I just can't see a way you don't put Jalen Brunson as the number one option in this question due to the fact that his ceiling is well beyond anyone else's, as well as the fact SGA, he's 27. He's got so many more years of dominating the league. And yes, it may be a back and forth with Wemby, but we saw it with LeBron and Curry a little bit. Those things can coexist where two great players go back and forth and they stay great. So I got Jalen Brunson in this question.
Yeah, I guess if the question was most to gain, I think I would possibly say Jalen Brunson. I just, the most legacy pressure to me, it has to be SGA because, you look at the Knicks, if this Knicks team takes whoever it is, the Spurs or the Thunder, to 6 or to 7 games, it's a celebrated season in New York. Yeah, they didn't win it all, but I think that justifies them trying to run back some iteration of the same team without making a big splash like Giannis. And Jalen Brunson, goes down as, even though they didn't win it, maybe a miniature version of a hero in New York for the season that he gave them, going to the finals for the first time since '99. As good of a player as Jalen Brunson is, Cat has been balling out these playoffs. OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges have been playing the best basketball, probably of their careers.
This is their chance then.
My point being, if you're the MVP, the back-to-back MVP, the pressure's on you. Let's see what you look like now that your Robin's not there. Let's see, oh, are you just a regular season guy on a stacked roster? That's why you won it all? Are you really the best player in the game? And that's why, to me, the pressure is on SGA because we've already seen him struggle and without, that 1-2 punch being there in Jalen Williams. And so for me, it's like if you want to prove that you're the best, I need to see this. I need to see it now because the Spurs aren't going anywhere, so the Western Conference isn't just going to be winnable every year. Where I think the Knicks can get back to the finals, and I think they can continue to, as long as Jalen Brunson and they keep some of the other guys, they play at this level. I do think they're going to be the favorites in the East for the next few years. I don't know if you can say the same about the Thunder. And so, for legacy pressure, if Shea wants to be, there aren't that many two-time MVPs in league history. And Shea is one of them. And so I think Shea needs one more ring, more than one ring to his name. And this is a good chance that he has where he's in game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. And if they win that, they're probably, Vegas has already released the odds. They're going to be favorites to win it over the Knicks. And that's why I'm putting most of the pressure on SGA because we know how good of a player he is. We know he's great. But if he wants to take that next step into being talked about as one of the greatest guards of all time, I think a title this year is necessary. Whereas for Jalen Brunson, yeah, he's been amazing and he's been an all NBA talent, but he hasn't won an MVP. And the guys around him are playing very well. And I still think the Knicks winning a title this year would be an overachievement, where I don't view the Thunder winning this year as an overachievement or more as kind of expected.
One thing I'd like to rebuttal on is the whole SGA needing to do it without his sidekick. I think you fast forward 15 years down the line, no one will remember that he didn't have his 1B type of guy. Michael Jordan, a lot of people would argue he is the GOAT, the greatest of all time. And he never did it without a sidekick. Actually, he never really even won. I believe he never even won a playoff series without a sidekick. Before and after his career with Scottie Pippen, he did not win a single playoff series. I'm not sure he even won 3 games or 4 games in his entire career in terms of playoff games won without Scottie Pippen. So I really don't think that kind of need to show me that you can do without your second guy is necessary because maybe you just need a second guy. And I would argue almost every single great player has needed a second guy. Jordan, he had Pippen his entire career. LeBron, he's had a flow of different guys, whether it was Anthony Davis, whether it was Dwayne Wade, whether it was Kyrie Irving, who played exceptionally well when he did win the championship. And then players like Kobe. You can argue Kobe now, yeah, they went to him at the end of the game, but a lot of people would make the argument Kobe wasn't even the best player on those teams. Sure, when he won that fifth one without Shaq, that was unbelievable. There's no question about it when he got it with Pau Gasol. However, these guys need their one Bs or maybe even their twos. So I really don't hold it against him. And then I'm gonna say it again. He's 27. You could argue he's not even in his prime yet. What you usually hit your physical, I'm not saying he's not, but you usually hit your physical peak prime if you're an NBA player around the age of 28, 29, 30. He's 27. You could argue there's only up from here. He's already a two-time MVP, already has the championship and the finals MVP. So I just don't see a way that if he just doesn't win it every single year, it's on him. As much as I don't like the guy, there is a chance he can go down as one of the greatest of all, not greatest of all time, but I mean like that top 10 conversation. If this team stays stacked and he wins another 2 championships, maybe not even this year, but if he gets 3 championships and maybe 3 to 4 MVPs, it's going to be hard to argue he's not in that top 10 range. So I don't know. We'll agree to disagree on that topic. I don't know if you want to close it out with one more anything else or if you want to move on to our last topic of the day, but
Yeah, I think it's less about winning without a sidekick and more of just I think we're at an age in the NBA where I don't think we're ever gonna see a Warriors sustained run where we see a team go to 5 straight finals again. So I think while you're there for your legacy, winning it is so important. And I think
the window is going to close, is what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah, I think the window is gonna close sooner than we expect. And I think we just view SGA more highly than we do Brunson right now. And so if Brunson beats SGA this year and both windows close and Brunson and SGA both only have one title, they're comparable. Whereas if SGA gets that second one, it's really going to set him apart. And I think, the city of New York is just with Brunson right now. I think he's just playing
He's
so well,
Batman.
and it's hard to see it as a failure if the Knicks don't win the finals. I think it's kind of they're almost playing with house money a little bit to the point where Brunson can kind of be a hero, and if he loses, I don't really think it's gonna backlash against him at all.
Yeah. Listen, those are good points. Still around with Brunson. I think he just has too much to gain. However, let's move on to our final topic. We'll get rid of those nuns as great as they are, and thank you for everything. Let's move on to LeBron, who I believe actually we haven't had this conversation yet, but I do believe that we both see as the greatest of all time.
We
I
do.
could be wrong about that. Yeah, we do. Okay. Let's see. Where do you think he's gonna go next year? And then the second question, where should he go if he wants a championship?
I think there's 4 options in my mind for LeBron. I could be missing one or two, and I'm obviously not behind the curtains in the locker room, so I don't
You're
know
not?
what I don't I don't know exactly what, LeBron. I'm not, in his interviews. I don't know where LeBron's head is at. I think the number one option, and these aren't in order, is that he just re-signs with the Lakers and that he finds a new deal. He's an unrestricted free agent right now, so I think he goes back there. Number two is he goes one more home return. He goes back to Cleveland. We've already teased that a little bit, uh, trying to get rid of Harden and adding LeBron. And then number three would be that he goes to a veteran team. And for me, I think the biggest possibility right now is the Warriors, seeing how they're in such big win now mode. And then number four is that he chooses to retire. I think that's the least likely. I don't think LeBron wants to be done playing yet. Everybody wants to point to the fact that he's like, oh, I don't want a farewell tour. So I think he's going to pull some unrespected retirement. if LeBron's still playing this well, one of his kids is in the NBA, I don't see why he'd be wanting to retire unless his body is telling him that he has to.
You're missing one key team that he could go to, unless you said it, but I'm pretty sure you didn't say it. And that's the team we've been talking about for a long time, the Knicks.
Ah,
He's a free agent. It doesn't have to be a sign and trade if he doesn't want it to be. He's unrestricted free agent. So he can really go for anything. Now, do I see LeBron as a veteran minimum type of guy? No, absolutely not. I don't even see him taking like a 10 mil. I don't even see him taking a 30 mil. I think he's probably going to want like that 40 mil. However, the way he's playing right now, he's worth in the league upward high 40s to 50s with the way he's producing. Also, with the way that you can see LeBron is just a complete plug in guy. You can throw him on any team. You can have him be the first option. He'll be one of the best first options in the league. Have him be the second option. He'll be one of the best second options. Same with the third. And that's exactly what he could be at the Knicks. I don't think he'd be a third. I do think LeBron is still going to be a second option at the Knicks. But if he did go to the Knicks or the Cavs, which that's what I'm praying he does, I don't think he will. But if he goes to either of those teams and he brings a championship, it would be ineffable for his career. I mean, that would solidify him as the GOAT, and I don't think it'd be even close. If he brought another one to the Cavs, that's unreal. If he brings one to the Knicks, who, I mean, you've seen how the Knicks have reacted to a finals run. It's been mayhem in the streets. I saw a stat. I don't know where these stats are coming from, but Jalen Brunson's Batman. Crime has went down 83% on the days that the Knicks are playing at home. And like what he's done to the city, if you're bringing LeBron, and the only reason I think this one could be possible, yes, they do have a pretty stacked roster already. So he wouldn't be able to take that 40 mil unless they wanted to get rid of some of the Villanova guys. However, if he goes to the Knicks and he does take 15 mil, 20 mil, big ask, he's going to make so much more than that off the court to where it could still be a good business decision. Whereas if he went to the Cavs and he took the 50 mil and they got rid of, say, Jarrett Allen, maybe it was a sign and trade to the Lakers, you're not going to, like, obviously you're LeBron. You're going to bring in billions to the team. But if you go to New York, you're going to bring in billions to your own pocket. And I really don't think that's that much of a reach. LeBron and Madison Square Garden would be unreal for the league. However, that's obviously what I want as a fan. It's obviously what I want to see, what I think would be the most entertaining, what I do believe he's going to do, which you said was the Warriors. I mean, sorry. The Warriors is blasphemy. That's only because you're a Warriors fan. Let's be honest.
oh,
It's been hinted in like a couple things, but let's be honest. The Warriors is dumb. He wants to play with Curry. That's it. Sorry. Lakers. He's probably just going to re-sign with the Lakers. I mean, I don't want to say it's a Giannis type of thing where if he doesn't sign, his brother may be gone. Where if LeBron doesn't sign, his son may be gone. I don't think he should be. I actually do think the family is well respected enough when it comes to JJ Redick, where I think they'll still keep him on the team and he'll play mostly G League minutes, where he's actually performed pretty well, especially for where he was picked. As much hate as he gets for playing in these NBA games, maybe he wouldn't see the NBA court as much as he does right now. So, but I do think he wants to stay with his family. I think he just wants to ride out with the Lakers. So I do think he'll sign there. I don't think retirement is even like in the picture anymore, if I'm being honest. He's too good. I mean, seeing him as the number one option, he's still one of the best when he wants to be. He's one of the best number one options in the league. And I don't think that's crazy to say at all because these playoffs runs, it was honestly unbelievable how he was doing it on both sides of the court. He wasn't just an offensive threat, he was strapping up on the defensive end, he was sliding those puppies.
okay. So yes, I do think the Lakers probably the most likely. I don't know where LeBron and Lakers ownership are at.
That's
I
true.
know, I know that when the new owners bought the Lakers, they wanted to make this Luka's team. And I've
That is
seen
true.
multiple headlines that have said they want Luka and Reeves at the center of this team. Now, I think that's an absolutely horrible like recipe for success because neither of those guys plays a lick of defense, and that is a terrible defensive backcourt. And right now we're watching some of the best NBA backcourts right now because they can defend are still alive in the playoffs. And that is why I don't think that's what the Lakers should do. I think that that's where ownership wants to head. I don't know if the Lakers view themselves as, okay, we got to the second round of the playoffs, and that was with Austin Reeves playing what, 2 or 3 games. I guess he was available for the whole second series, and that was with Luka not suiting up at all. So maybe they view this as if we can re-sign LeBron to a 1 or 2 year deal, run it back with Reeves and Doncic, maybe look to move on from Ayton and fill the roster with better guys, that we can be a team that can compete with the Thunder and the Spurs. I personally don't think that the Lakers were a Luka Doncic away from competing with the Thunder and now competing with the Spurs in years moving on. The reason why I think the Warriors is a great option, and I'm not predicting he's going to go there. I think he should go there. I agree with you. I think he's going to end up
No.
going back to the Lakers. The reason I think he should go to the Warriors is because, first of all, we talk about timelines in the NBA so often. His timeline does not fit with the Knicks timeline, which is what you were talking about. If they are to move on from some of their Nova guys, whether that be Bridges, whether that be um, maybe they decide to move on from Anunoby. If they bring LeBron in, the pressure for them to win in the next year or two is immense because once LeBron moves on, they just lost their title window because they're now losing one or two of their core pieces, and now they don't have LeBron. So the pressure's on them for the next 1 or 2 years, where I think the Knicks believe in a bad Eastern Conference, their title window can be longer than the foreseeable future. And if you look at the Warriors, you have a coach in Steve Kerr who just signed a new 2 year deal. After that, I think we all know he's done coaching. He wants to coach Curry. He wants to coach Draymond, Jimmy Butler. He doesn't want to coach the future of the Warriors. We've seen all the talk. We've heard all the talk about LeBron wanting to play with Steph, Steph wanting to play with LeBron. And if we're being honest and realistic, this is their last chance of making that happen. Steph's not going to the Lakers, so it would require LeBron to go to Golden State. Now, here's the one where I think makes it a little more possible. Draymond Green only wants to play in the NBA for 2 teams. I believe those 2 teams are the Warriors and the Lakers. I think if
He
Draymond's gonna
loves
go play,
LeBron.
I think if Draymond's gonna go play anywhere else, it would be in LA. Now that would obviously be a LeBron for Draymond swap, not a straight up trade, maybe a sign in trade or something like that, where the Warriors would have to throw more in. But I could see Draymond saying, you know what, I'll go suck it up and play with Luka and Reeves and finish my career in LA if LeBron's gonna come over. And I just think the Warriors are so far in the hole of after this next couple year window when, Jimmy either retires, moves on. Maybe Steph will hang out in Golden State for a few more years and just chuck shots at the end of his career, but Draymond's probably got a year or two left. I don't think Tingus Pingus is, a long-term solution in Golden State. So they have another year or two, and then I mean, you look at what they have signed past this year, they have like 3 guys. Like everybody's contract is coming up after the end of this year. Draymond has a player option that they hopefully can figure out a way to move on from. It's just all signs lead to the Warriors going all in. And I think the best all in move for them at this point, with Kawhi probably staying in LA, is to go and figure out what they can do to get LeBron. If that means giving up Draymond and all of the young guys, I think they should do it and go for it. But you said, where do I think he should go? Where should he go? He should go to the Warriors. I think the Cavs is the second most realistic option, but I think number one most realistic is to stay in LA. I would like to see a commitment from the ownership to realize that LeBron was their best player in the playoffs, and he's the one who's been healthy in the playoffs the last few years. So to stop just completely moving on from him, and yeah, I get you're excited that you have Luka Doncic as your star player, but if you want to win right now, it's going to take paying LeBron, and it's going to take LeBron being at least the number 2 option, in my opinion.
Yeah, I got a lot to say after your little soliloquy. So first of all, the Warriors, we're gonna keep this nice and short. That's not even a window that's closed.
Oh,
That's like
whoa, whoa,
a
whoa,
that's like a slam door
whoa,
with a
whoa.
bunch of locks and maybe
The,
another lockdown door coming down.
the all-veteran squad?
That's not even a window. That's like a slam shut door. They're never getting out of that. What Curry's done has been amazing. I personally would argue he is the greatest point guard of all time. Love Magic.
Curry's better.
I think Curry's better. I really do.
We'll
Now
get
to
we'll
get
get
on
into
our next.
our list of greatest
Yes.
players by position. That'll be over the summer. We'll get into that.
Yes. Aiton. Don't even get me started on DeAndre Ayton. He I'm gonna tell you a quick little story, which he represents perfectly. So when I played lacrosse when I was younger, we had this kid on our team who never really showed up, and when he did show up, he was terrible, and he was our only goalie. We only had one goalie. He would go like this and throw the ball in our own net. So we're coming home from a game, and our coach stood up in the bus and he goes, "Listen, X, we'll say his name's X. At this point, you're more of a negative to our team than a positive." He was the first ever kid cut from a middle school lacrosse team. In in the history of the high school and middle school that I went to, first and only ever kid cut. That is what DeAndre Ayton is. You see JJ Redick going to the bench, and he goes, "I can't even play this guy. I can't." He's more of a negative than a positive, and he shouldn't be because he's so skilled. But that is a quintessential example of what that's what I think of when I see him step on the floor. I'm like, oh, that's a little lacrosse kid that literally got told in front of the entire team on the bus heading home after a tough loss, like, hey, dude, you're off the team. All right. And then if LeBron leaves, which I do agree with you. I've heard a lot of rumblings with him and the head of the organization. We'll see where that goes. Braun maybe doesn't feel like he's getting respected enough. So if he leaves, yeah, they're gonna run the show with Luca and Reeves, like you said, and that is a terrible idea. Luca and Reeves are two guys. I mean, they can't guard their own shadow. Like, I think I might be able to get a bucket on them. Obviously, that's obvious. That's not actually true. That's hyperbolic. I can't get a bucket. But seriously, against these NBA guys, they seriously can't strap. Like, even if they seem like guys where even if they wanted to, we talk a lot about the want. They have two bad compliments. They don't want it, and they're also not athletic enough and big enough. Where it's like, yeah, like we were talking about Mitchell. Like, if he wants it, he should be able to be a good defender. If Luca wants it, I mean, dude, I need to see his 40-yard dash time. I need to see it.
Maybe we
He
could get a
promised,
maybe we could get a sign and trade, get Harden over there for a big three.
yeah, we can have a big three if dude says just don't care. Like, seriously. Maybe we can do a sign and trade with Cleveland. So yeah, that's the little rant I wanted to go on. Warriors, that's just a you topic, let's be honest.
Whoa, there's
That
been
jersey.
noise. And the Warriors have tried, they have
I
pursued
know
it in
there's
the
been noise,
past.
but it's nothing serious. Aiden, terrible. Reeves and Luca, yeah, they're especially Luca. I mean, Reeves not so as much. He still has to prove it to me. Luca's proved it to me. He's an unbelievable player. I actually do believe if you catch good timing, not in the West, he would have to move east. But if you catch good timing, he actually could make it to another finals being the 1A guy. I really do believe that. You're just gonna have to surround him with 3 and D lengthy guys with a couple of lob threats. Maybe like, I don't know, I'm trying to think like maybe a Kyrie, like Anthony, like Daniel Gafford, Anthony Davis.
I mean,
Maybe like, oh, the
Jarrett
Dallas
Allen would
Mavericks. Like that
Jarrett
could be a
Allen
good
would actually be a decent fit.
who?
He
Yeah,
would
Jared
actually
Allen. Yeah,
be
lob threat. I
Yeah,
agree.
he would be fine playing alongside Jarrett
Yeah,
Allen.
I do think Luca would fit well with the Mavericks franchise. I don't know why. I think it could just maybe lead him to the finals, but maybe we'll never see that. Anyways, that's my opinion on this topic. Aiden, again, don't even get me started. The only reason he's in a league is because all of his natural talent.
Yeah, I think we can both agree that LeBron's not retiring.
Yep.
Um, I I guess, maybe he'll pull off some. I, it's a tough situation for me to try to predict his retirement because honestly, LeBron strikes me as the type of guy who wants a farewell tour,
He
but
does.
he's came out and said that he doesn't want one. But I can't see him. Maybe he's so fed up with the Lakers that he just wants to screw him over and just retire at some crazy time. But I don't see that being the case. I can sort of see him being like after the last game of the season, like, you know what, I think it's time to hang it up, whether that be after this coming season or another season. I don't think he's going to be this Aaron Rodgers where he tries to string this along and just get all the media attention that he can for as long as he can. I think he's
Don't
going to
get me
be,
started on A-Rod.
yeah, don't get me started as a Steelers fan. But I think it's just going to be sort of one of those things where he's like, you know what? I think it's time. But he might also just view it as I already have 4 rings. I want to play with my kid. And if it's going to
Yep,
take me, or I want my kid to stay in the NBA. And if it's going to take me being on the Lakers for that to happen, I do think that Bronny James has at least earned himself another year or
I do
two
too.
in the organization, even without LeBron. But Yeah, I think
Noise.
LA is probably going to be the ending spot for him, but I just this current iteration of the team does not feel like it has enough to compete with the Spurs or the Thunder, and that's not even getting that's just in your own conference. So I'm really interested to see what their offseason looks like and what his decision ends up being. Obviously, I would love him to come to the Warriors. That is not my prediction, and I don't think it's going to happen, but I do think it is sort of a realistic option. But we will have to see.
Yeah. Well, I think that does well enough, and we're wrapping it up, right? Unless you have anything else you'd like to mention. Aye.
No closing remarks from me.
Aye. Well then, thank you all for tuning in, especially if you made it this far into episode 2. Again, we were down a man, but I think that does it. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll end on one final say, and that's Aaron Rodgers is terrible for the NFL.